Welcome back to the Witch's Way podcast. I'm Kat.
And I'm Jayme. And tonight we are talking about confidence magic. Now, this podcast is sort of a continuation of last week's podcast because you needed to know that stuff to really dig into this stuff. Our main focus here is to address what fear is, what it looks like, sounds like, how you know you're having it, and then how to mitigate it. We're going to literally squash fear so you can do confidence magic, so you can be confident in your magic. Whole purpose of the podcast tonight. So I think that when I was writing this, I know from experience and stories that a lot of women say the word fear when they're talking about stepping into the practice. I'm afraid of. I'm afraid. I'm scared that there's,
But what if?
And there's fear of judgment that stops them. Because if you have real fears that are, I don't even, what? It's hard for me to associate that right now. It's been so long since I was new to this.
Well, safety is one.
Safety.
if you're a new witch and you're thinking about coming out as a witch,
people,
yeah,
safety from other people,
safety from feeling like you are safe in your environment to be able to share your journey.
That's totally different. Yeah. This is more kind of fear.
That's real. That's actually legit.
That's real and scary. And please protect yourself. That's not what we're talking about. This is more fear of judgment for people who actually don't matter in your life, but you're giving them space to matter. And so we're sort of afraid of how people will view us when we decide that we are something, when we take on a title, when we decide we like something, when we want to be different, when we don't want to be mainstream. We do fear that rejection from our group, from the people that we think are supposed to have our back. And that rejection, that fear around that it really messes with our confidence a lot in how we proceed in our craft, how we go through things.
How we walk through life, I think.
I know it doesn't just apply to witchcraft. It applies to lots of things. Think about your job, think about any place you've ever worked, any social groups that you've been a part of, if you've been out to dinner, how you interact with, the wait staff, how you would act at a bar. Are you able to order a drink really like, hey, I need a drink. Yep, right here. Are we able to call attention to ourselves and not fear that judgment of other people thinking oh, she's so crass, oh, she doesn't have manners, or whatever people might say about you? That fear of judgment stops a lot of us. And that is the kind of fear that we're really talking about today. And we spoke on this in the last episode, but what it is what it sounds like is you're too much, you're being emotional, you're overreacting. People don't want to hear your crap. It's oh, here you go with another opinion. Oh, why do you got to do that? You always got to bring this up. Just keep it to yourself. When you hear that, those are not your people, by the way. I just want to let you know. If somebody tells you to keep something to yourself, you need to turn around and leave and come visit us. And we will show you what people who get you are really like that. Those are not your people. Can you imagine?
No, I can't imagine. You're not too much. You're just finally turning the volume back up on who you were born to be.
Yeah. In our last episode, we talked about how society, school systems, religions, family, they all hush us. They all quiet us down to make us more
compliant.
Obedient to what they need from us, to make it easier on them.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear what we have to say, what we think, what we want to do.
Yeah.
So that hushing of our inner self, we've always had that. We're just now calling it to the forefront. We're bringing that shit back in. Even I will say my child was raised knowing I was a witch all his life. He knows I'm super spiritual. He knows numerology. He knows why he has his name. He knows all the things. But when he got to be a teenager, even he tried me. And he was like, Mom, don't bring your witchcraft shit into parenting. That's not parenting. I was like, that is a literal part of who I am. That is my parenting. That has everything to do with how I parent. But even in my own kid, he heard it from society where he didn't even think it was appropriate in the relationship of mother-child. It gets to people. And he grew up with it his whole life. And there you go. It happens,
Well, the myth of too much, where does that come from anyway?
Yeah.
Women have been told for centuries that being powerful or emotional or intuitive or magical makes them dangerous. So, of course, fear pops up. It's old conditioning wearing a new outfit.
Think witch hunt, but now it's, oh, you're outspoken and you say too much. You must be, there's something wrong with you. You hold too much power. We can't let you be in control, even of your own self. Yeah. Fear of judgment isn't just a personal flaw. Okay. It's more of an inherited conditioning. So I want you to consider this. I wrote it this way because even other people that you see in your life that have fear of judgment, I want you to give them a little grace because this is just conditioning that they've had throughout their lives. They do have situations. There are reasons why they're like this. There are reasons why we are like this, why you might be like this. It is conditioning that we've received from other people. Now it's just our job to kind of break through it.
Yeah, I know somebody who says a lot of times, I'm just afraid that, or I'm afraid, or
I'm scared
I'm scared,
Yep.
or and not wanting to take action because they're kind of paralyzed by it.
Yeah.
Fear is a protective reflex from our childhood. And maybe that's where she gets that from, is that fear, like from
that and then other things that have built on in life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. In childhood, it was like, stay small, stay safe. Right.
Yeah.
We were
don't
told,
be heard, don't be seen. Nobody can come after you.
Right.
Yeah.
The witch archetype was literally demonized to control intuitive women.
Yeah. The healers. The people that were literally healing the community, they demonized them.
Yeah.
And they took away such an important part of a community and then made it to where all women were afraid to speak up or be healers or do anything that
or where it was dangerous
action.
for women to speak up.
Yeah.
When women reconnect to intuition, creativity, wildness, fear shows up like, careful, they won't like this version of you.
That's right. And it's a version of you. Remember that as we change, we have so many versions of ourselves. That's the one thing that I try to tell people who aren't happy with what I might be into, looking at, doing, talking, researching. I know that all of the subjects that I look into, my husband is not super comfortable with, because if I get into man hating, he takes it a little personally. He's like, I'm a man and I'm really good to you. Like, why do you think these things? That's not even happening in your life right now. And I tell him, don't take it personal. These are things that I'm thinking about that affect a broader audience. Like, just have a conversation with me about it. And yeah, maybe he's not one of the men that fit into the category that do that thing.
He's definitely not.
Listen to me, like, just to have that conversation. So when people have these little fears, or you have the fear about yourself being a version of you, remember that you're always evolving. And even if they don't like what's going on right now, do the thing anyways, because it's going to transform into the next thing. So don't stop the growth. Just let it get to that next level. I think about like a young tree who's first growing and somebody's like, that looks like a weed. I would pull that from my garden. That's terrible. Ooh, look at it. It's in the wrong spot. Why are we letting that happen? That's going to be a tree and they just don't know it yet. They can't recognize what that's going to grow into. And then you see a branch and a branch and a branch, and all of a sudden you start to see the leaves of what it's going to be, and it's going to provide shade and all of this like beautifulness in your garden. People are like, oh, I'm really glad I didn't pull that weed out. It actually turned into a nice oak tree. Like, this is a real thing that happens with our own growth. We can think of ourselves as those seedlings. Most people can't recognize what a plant is going to be when it's first a seedling. They're like, I don't know. It just doesn't look like it belongs here. It's just out of nowhere.
Tree, if you think about my tree, my moringa, it was a stick.
It was a stick.
It was a stick about 12 inches sticking. And I was like, well, I'm just going to leave it there and see what happens. And if it turns brown, and then I'll pull it up. It's like a 10-foot tree now. It's a little
15 feet at least.
It's still a little scrawny. It's got to fill out, but it's super tall. That little stick turned into
see, and you just don't know what it's going to be. These are versions of ourselves. The plant theory for me is like, it's versions. Yeah.
Remember that fear is a story, not a prophecy.
It does not foretell your future.
Yeah.
Fear does not. Yeah. I think that learning how to recognize what fear is, like say magically, psychologically, sort of to really know what fear is, get a good definition. And if you're journaling, which I hope you are, I want you to write these things down, because when you know this, you can help other people know this. Fear is huge in our communities and in our societies. And if you can recognize it, you'll know that somebody is speaking from fear and not actually like legitimate, I'm trying to decide on something. It is such a helpful thing when you're just trying to help a friend or listen to people. So fear is really about this chemical surge that happens when old programming has imagined consequences. Okay. What that basically says is, you have a chemical reaction, which is an emotion in your body. Something happens to you when something triggers, and I don't have a better word for it, but it triggers a response of something you've already been through. And then it's an imagined consequence of like, this will happen to me again. I'm trying, like,
And
I want to say a high school situation.
Well,
you know,
there's something too when we have these experiences, because I've heard you explain this before about when we have a traumatic experience, there's wiring that we get wired. So there's like a path that's
neurons fire and wire together.
So they're like, there's this path that's created. And so when something comes up that reminds you of that or is similar to that, the path has already been made. So it's like almost instant reaction.
The connection,
the connection is already there. So it's very easy for that triggering, for that to those feelings to come back up again.
It relives the same line. The way, I didn't write this into the episode, but it might be helpful. I'm going to help you guys imagine what it's like to, number one, create a new memory, good, bad, ugly, fantastic, doesn't matter. What creating a new memory is like, and then what happens over time when you continue to revisit that memory, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. When you first experience something and you remember it because either it was traumatic, it was horrible, it was amazing, like your wedding day, like something, your first kiss, your like the first time you knew you were in love. No matter what it is, these big events that actually stir emotions within us, when you have emotion in an event, that memory is one that solidifies in your brain pretty quickly. And so there's neural pathways that fire and wire together. And what will happen, be it a tragedy or a happy event, when you think about that, it's like a cart digging a rut into the dirt. Each time that your mind decides to revisit that memory, you are dragging a wheel through, symbolically, the dirt and making it deeper and deeper and deeper. You are making those connections form stronger and stronger and stronger each time you revisit a memory. So with trauma, we often relive a lot of it. And when we have triggers, that's how you can relive it. This is why PTSD is so bad, is because it's really hard to overwrite that, to not think about it, to when it comes up, you distract yourself, give something else. For myself, I went through a year of EMDR, like therapy, to try to overwrite my brain because it was so written in there that I couldn't not have a physical reaction when it would come up, and there were so many triggers for it that EMDR worked great for me. So if it's something that is really traumatic, I suggest that you look into EMDR. It really helped me. But for the stuff that's more like this fear of being judged, having people reject your ideas, your thoughts, your feelings, what you want to do, when that first happens, whether it's when you're young and your parents say that, they don't like what you're doing, don't be that kid, you're not allowed to be goth, you can't practice witchcraft, like, your world is not real, on into relationships where people deny what your thinking is, and you've just gotten this sense of rejection a lot. When something else happens in your life and you want to speak up, and then you remember all the times you spoke up and people shot you down, that is what that fear is. It's that hardwired connection now in your brain that goes, every time you speak up, people shoot you down. Don't do it. You know what's going to happen. It's trying to tell you what the future is going to be. So it's an imagined consequence that hasn't happened yet, but because you have past shit that did happen, you basically tell yourself like, well, that's what's going to happen if I do that. I can't do that. So you stop yourself because you're afraid of imagined consequence. That is where we're going with it. How was that for an explanation?
I think that's a good explanation. Okay. So, but fear isn't always stop. Sometimes it's pay attention.
Yeah.
Right.
True. Yeah.
Sometimes how fear speaks to us versus how intuition speaks to us.
Yeah.
Fear is loud, urgent, catastrophic, and shamey.
Yeah.
Like shame, with the shame emotions that come along with it.
Yeah.
Intuition is quiet, and we talked about this.
That last podcast.
It's quiet. It's calm.
It's very direct.
It's neutral.
Yeah, it's not emotional.
And it's factual.
Right. It is literally stating things for you. In the last podcast, I explained how when you hear your intuition, it's like you've been driving on a road and all of a sudden the road is ending and you have to go left or right. And all it says is you need to make a decision. It doesn't go, oh my God, if you turn left, that could happen. Oh my God, if you turn right, that could happen. That's fear, right? Your intuition is just going to state to you very simply, you can go left or you can go right. That's it. It's going to offer up information.
That's factual. You got to make a turn.
Offering up information and letting you know that you need to make a decision now. And that's just with the road thing. But that's what it sounds like, what it feels like. See how there's no fear in deciding if you're going to go left or right? You just have to decide. And your intuition could say, or your excitement in it, because we also talked about expansion. Well, going left, I feel like that seems better. That's going uphill, or that's headed towards the sunset, or it's going towards some other goal that I want. Whereas going right, all right, well, that looks like it's going to go away from town, and maybe I don't want to do that. So you can rationalize some of it, but you have a feeling immediately of like, left feels better, right feels better, but there's not fear involved in it. Yeah.
Signs your fear is really fear of judgment. You rewrite captions 20 times. So indecision.
Indecision, yeah. Can't get it right. It's that need to feel perfection.
Perfection, yeah.
Perfectionism, yeah.
You apologize before you apologize before having an opinion. I'm sorry, but
yeah.
You hide your magical practice from people who aren't even paying your bills, or have any impact on your life, or like why
they're inconsequential.
Yeah, you speak smaller than you actually feel. Like you shrink yourself. You shrink yourself down to, be smaller, lower voice, more docile, or like
less threatening.
Yeah,
you make yourself less threatening.
Yeah. Fear can't predict the future, but it can reveal where healing is needed.
Definitely.
That's the truth.
Yeah. When you have fear, what Kat was saying about the speaking smaller than you feel, we didn't get into it in this podcast, but you can also say things and notice if you say them, if you're trying to stand like, Superman or Superwoman and like stand with your hands on your hip and say it, if your body immediately slumps like, oh God, that feels like a lie, then right? But if you can stand there and say it like this, then that would be confident. Like, that's real.
Yeah. Well, that's like, do you go into a room and do you take up space that that you have a right to, just like everybody else? Or do you go in a room and shrink, away from people and try to make yourself small and less noticeable? And that indicates a fear of judgment.
Judgment, being seen. Again, not being seen, not being heard keeps you safe. So this is, we get into this place where we think that having an opinion, being loud, being different, being seen is going to somehow bring on an imagined bad consequence.
So here's what we do in situations like that. We pause and ask ourselves questions like, whose voice is this?
Yeah. Who's actually talking? Because do you ever hear other people, like, you guys know this story. Sorry, I'm going to say it really quick because I can't believe that I've now been like putting myself out there verbally for 5 years, because I was told when I was younger that I had the most annoying voice ever. And that one comment from somebody who I did value their opinion a little bit, it was really harsh. It fucking hurt to hear that. I forever believed that. I was like, I have an annoying voice. I probably shouldn't talk. Like, I must sound like, and I got made fun. I sound like Mickey Mouse. I sound like a squeaky toy. I sound like this.
So I was always told I had resting bitch face. So guess what? Then I went out into the world with bibs. I was like, okay, well then I guess that means like what? I'm not liked or something. Mm-hmm. So then that just perpetuated resting bitch face for like the longest time.
Yep.
Until I decided to change it. Let's see, what else? What am I afraid will happen? So this is the pause and ask yourself these things like, What are you afraid will happen if you speak up, if you take up space, if you put your hands on your hips and say it like you really fucking mean it with your whole chest. With authority and chest.
Expand yourself.
Yeah, expand, yeah.
Expand yourself and say it. Then try to say something. Well, it's a fun exercise, but try to say a lie standing very confidently and say a truth standing very confidently. You can feel the difference in your body if you do it. And the same thing goes for if you're making yourself really small and you say a truth, your body literally wants to be like, girl, what are you doing? You don't need to do that. When you say a truth, when you're trying to be like, your body literally wants to throw itself to the side and be like, I'm comfortable. Why are you making me shut this off? I know what I'm doing. The body telling lies, telling the truth, and the fear that's your perception of it. It matters. It really, I don't know. Have you ever done anything like that? They ever make you do that? No.
Who's they?
Coaching, college. I don't know any of the people's. Like for speech.
Yeah. Speech was nerve-wracking.
Speech was a thing where you had to get very comfortable in your body to be able to like talk and throw yourself around. And,
oh my goodness.
The better you got in your body, the better your speech went. You shook out all the nerves,
So a couple other things that you can ask yourself. Is the fear based on truth or a memory?
Truth or a memory? Yeah. Because remember that
a past experience. Are you reacting? in fear to a past experience.
That's right.
Where you just
and you're imagining the consequences.
Well, you remember what happened. Your body remembers what happened.
And so you're imagining that this is going to go the same way, and you're thinking ahead of consequences that have not yet happened, and you don't know what's going to happen, but you're already putting them into play. Yeah.
Also ask yourself, if I trusted myself, what would I choose right now? Yeah. Versus not trusting yourself.
I like to think about it. If I was on an island and nobody else was around, what would I do anyways? Because then you take the people out of it, right? Like, I think that's a good way to put it. That's how I imagine it. Like, if I was on an island, what would I do anyways?
Well, you wouldn't care because there would be nobody there. There would be no judgment.
Yeah. Okay. Weird question. Weird little game then. Nakedness, which I've always had a problem with. And then my PTSD revolves around, being exposed and stuff like that. So for me, getting into a really healthy relationship where I can comfortably sleep naked, I could walk around naked in front of him and I'm not afraid. Mm-hmm. I now have asked myself, I do the island question with almost everything, I have to tell you. I don't talk about it, but if I was an island, would I still act this way? I'm getting so bold in my routine in my morning around my house that I'm like, I will go outside in just my tank top and underwear sometimes. Now, I don't have any neighbors that live around me, so I'm safe from that. But before, I wouldn't dare dream of doing that. Just the idea that somebody could possibly see me in my underwear was absolutely not ever, not ever, not ever. And now I'm like, I wonder if I could live in a nudist colony and be totally fine
I wonder
with
if
it.
I'm getting bolder because I will literally walk out in my panties to get the trash cans.
And you live in a real neighborhood.
And I live in a neighborhood, and I actually don't give a fuck. I'm like,
shit.
Well,
in your undies?
In my undies, yeah, with just a shirt on. But the reason why I do it and I'm comfortable with it is because I'm now used to being in a bathing suit a lot because I live in Florida. Where in Kansas City, I was only in a bathing suit a few times a year.
You wear less clothes here.
Yeah,
that's true.
So you wear a lot less clothes in Florida.
Oh, maybe that's what's happening to me then. Okay.
Yeah, so you're just whatever, it's I'm going to walk around in my bra and underwear. It's the same thing as a bathing suit. That's what I think to myself. I'm like, and if the neighbors don't like it, they can just not fucking look.
I was in one of my dresses that's a cover up, but it's also a dress. And I didn't remember that I didn't have a swimsuit on underneath of it. I just had bra and underwear. And I was getting in the back of the car, looking for the cell phone that we thought lost and all that. And I was just in there, ass in the air, it doesn't matter. And Jolene's like, girl, your underwear everywhere. I was like, oh, I don't have a swimsuit on? It confused me so much. And my neighbor was getting something put in across the street. And I mean, they're farther away. They're not going to see me. But she was just like, I'm going to stand in front of you. I was like, it's fine. Nobody's going to see me. But I was never like that before, that's just something that happens now. And it's the island question of, I go as far as could I be in a nudist colony? Because before I've never flashed anybody. I've never done anything where I feel, very freeing that women will do sometimes in their 20s or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nude beaches in France everywhere.
Right.
Not for me.
Even just going without a bra, I'd be like, no, my boobs are saggy.
The judgment thing is
I'm judging myself. I'm like,
what other people
girl,
might say
you need
about
a bra on.
Right? Just a funny question that, to know what you really think Feeler would do if you were on an island and nobody else was around, would you do it this way? What would you do? So I like that. I like that a lot.
So let's talk about moving from fear to self-worth to unapologetic expression, which I actually feel like that's what we were just talking about.
Pretty much.
You're just walking around in your yard in your bra and underwear, your bra and a t-shirt with, unapologetically. And I don't care. Who's to judge me, So let's talk about that. Confidence isn't a mood. It's a skill that's built through tiny, brave acts.
Brave acts.
Like walking out in my underwear to get the trash cans.
Oh, yes. Yep. I can still...
And not giving a shit.
Right. Well, think about the kind of out there things that we might do, like skinny dipping.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing. For me, I guess it comes down to my body probably more because it's something that I've shrouded in clothes and secrecy and hidden and
you also had a whole incident where you were
incidences of the body that are that caused a lot of my trauma. So my body was always almost wish I didn't have it. If I could be a floating head, that would be fine with me. I'd be totally fine there.
Well, it doesn't help that, you were a busty young woman, teenager even.
I know.
And so that got you a lot of unwanted attention.
Very annoying.
So you were dealing with that from a young age. And that's like your whole life. When you have big boobs, you notice people, if you're a big breasted woman, people just automatically look at your boobs.
Big boobs, big butt, small waist, big thighs. Like there are just these types. And honestly, you could have people made fun of my nose. They used to tell me that my dad was Bill Cosby. I think that was the guy. Oh my God. But because they said, your nose is so big, you could pick it with your thumb. So like, it wasn't just a boob thing. It could be a nose thing, Damn,
I know these people. Like, fuck you.
Kids in school, man.
Oh my God, kids are just awful.
I had a terrible voice. I had a big nose that I picked with my thumb. My boobs were way too big. Like the shit that you hear that can cause.
And she was the prettiest. It still is. She had the bluest eyes, and so sweet and nice and. Oh my God!
And stayed away from everybody that
I just can't. I just can't. It's just. I just can't believe how mean kids are.
Well, I think that where we were going with that is the small, brave acts. So what I did to counter the things that I would consider bullying, and that's not really part of this, but that's where I experienced, where I got my self-doubt, where my traumatic events came in, is a lot of it had to do with my physicalities. I'm luckily an extremely smart person, so I loved people to think that I was dumb, and then I would just blow them out of the water. I'm a brainiac like you wouldn't believe. But my physical appearance, I couldn't hide that. Like that wasn't a secret. That was always on the outside. People could always have a comment and say something about it. And so that really that affected me.
People just don't have any manners, to just come out and say some stuff. It's like,
yeah.
Didn't you learn any? You weren't trained at home very well.
So my brave acts have always been dressing the way I wanted to, regardless of my body, wearing makeup the way I wanted to, regardless of my big nose, like whatever it was that I felt. And then even now, my brave act was starting that meetup 5 years ago, almost 6 now.
That was a brave act. That was a
brave act. Putting myself out there to talk to people. What?
Well, and then also like all the things you've been doing in the last couple of years with like putting yourself on social media.
Being on social media.
That was a huge thing.
I still can't believe it. It's crazy.
That was a huge step for you.
So all of the little things that I've done to recover from, I would have not done it if the fear had still been there, fear of judgment and people saying like, I expected maybe in the comments one day, they'd be like, you have the most annoying voice ever. You should never talk again. You should never be on.
Somebody someday will say that if we get too big. I guarantee. It's almost a guarantee.
They do. I'll laugh and be like, "Oh, bless your heart. Thank you."
Yeah, you know what I would say is like, I don't care about your opinion.
I know my son. If I ever try to have a conversation with people online where they're not being very nice, because I just want to see how I'll respond. Sometimes I'm like, well, let me practice this. Like, I don't know. I've never really like. A bully comes in and I've never really said anything back. I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever. But so I was like, what is the little response that I could come up with, And so I wrote something back and of course they never responded, but I told Cameron about it. He goes, Mom, do not engage with people like that. I'm like, I just wanted to see how I would handle it. It's not like nothing happened, but these are the little brave acts that we can do. And, we're talking about like body stuff and bullying and sort of those things, but any little brave acts that you can do where you speak up, where you stand your ground, where you say no as a full sentence, where you are able to just reclaim living as you without the fear of people judging you or saying something to you, and be like, fuck it. What do they really matter in the grand scheme of things?
And you know what?
They don't live their life.
And you know what happens? Your magic becomes strong when you stop shrinking to fit old fears.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Fitting old fears.
Yeah.
That looks like walking away from relationships, jobs, places where you feel like you need to be, because how will you survive without those things? How could you ever move to a new state? How could you ever visit a place that you've never been to before? I've met a lot of people who have never left the areas where they grew up, and that blows my mind.
I'm always like, mine too.
What? You've never left this city or state, and you're like 60 years old?
I cannot imagine still living I was born in Memphis. I can't imagine of living there my whole life and never leaving.
Yeah.
That would be like, oh.
I still think of you as a California girl. I mean, that's...
I was only born there. I didn't stay there very long.
So I think that that's where you can really get into little brave acts. Imagining yourself doing the things and not worrying about what the people say, Because if they say stuff, it can be looked at as just words, and you can choose to ignore it or absorb it. We have this thing in our family that we've been practicing for probably 2 years now. Observe, don't absorb. So if somebody comes at you with some negative shit and they want to say stuff and they want to have opinions and they want to tell you about something, you do not have to absorb what they're feeling. You do not have to absorb what they're saying about you. You can observe it and be like, wow, you must be really feeling a way about some things that I'm doing that are just about me, not to you, directly involving you at all. I hope you're, then you can say whatever you want. I was about to say, I hope you're okay, but you don't have to hope they're okay. Be like, you should work on that.
Well, and that kind of like reacting in that way and not absorbing, just observing it is a ritual that when you do it over time, it builds energy, and the repetition of that helps you build an identity.
Yeah, that new identity that you really want to claim for yourself.
And you know what? Also, I am not for everyone is a spell. Just saying those words, I'm not for everyone. That's how we finally had, I think that's one of the things
that's a breakthrough.
I think that was one of the things for you was like, especially with social media, because Jayme was never on social media. She didn't like it. She didn't want to be there. It's like she had Facebook pages, but never posted anything. Super annoying for her mom in Kansas City. That's like, I need updates. I'm going to need you to post some pictures of my grandson. But she didn't like social media.
No.
And she finally had to get over that, if you will, to just be like, you know what, I'm going to connect with some people, but I'm not going to connect with everyone. And that's all of us. We're all going to connect with somebody. There's very few people who there's probably not anyone on the planet who is just liked by everyone else on the planet.
No.
I mean, that's not possible.
It's not possible. And it's not
even Mother Teresa, as much as Mother Teresa is like the epitome of the gracious, giving, self-sacrificing person. There's probably people who are like, Mother Teresa, who, fuck, she lived like a whatever.
They would have something to say about it because people have opinions.
Yeah, and especially today, people have opinions.
Well, there's so much space for them to have opinions in. We've created forums for people to just have opinions whenever they want to, and so we can all read about it. It's crazy. I mean, even what we're doing right now, these are all opinions. Everything that we put out there is just part of ourselves, little leaks of us onto the internet, into the spaces, out into the universe. The goal for us, though, is to help people. And whereas when people are just spewing their negative opinions, it's really not helping anybody. I don't even think it's helping them. They're just reaffirming their hateful parts of themselves.
I used to block a lot on Threads. So if somebody says something, I'm just
never been on Threads.
I'm just going to block. I don't even let it bother me. Every time you choose yourself, you reclaim a piece of your witch soul.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that we unlearn how to choose ourselves because other people tell us it's selfish. And that's why now we have books written on self-care, because we literally forgot how to do self-care, because we forgot how to take care of our own selves because we are told to take care of everybody else. You notice there's not a lot of men going out looking for self-care.
No.
It's all written for women.
That's true.
It's us. And we have to reclaim that. We have to reclaim that little piece of our witchy souls. Absolutely.
So let's talk about a ritual that we can do for self-worth. It's easy, powerful. This is called the Flame of Truth ritual.
Yeah. I want you to light a candle, and you can pick colors that really get to the heart of it. A white, black, gold. You want to keep it in that realm of sort of, I would say neutral, but just the colors all have emotions with them, whereas white, black, and gold are more of those neutral colors. Okay, so pick one of those. I want you to place your hands on your heart and say, "The fear is old and I am new." And I want you to speak this not just from like today, your life, but I want you to think about the last 2,000 years, 5,000 years, where fear has literally been driving humans against each other, separating, changing our worlds, overtaking, treating each other terrible. And it was all out of fear of, they're going to have more than me. I'm not going to have enough. I need to do this. The fear is old and I am new. Because I truly believe we're stepping into a new era.
I think so too.
All the light workers that are here.
Mm-hmm.
Speak aloud one fear that you have or one judgment, and then speak the truth that's actually underneath of that. So this requires a little bit more thought, but it's like, I love people thinking I'm weird, but I wrote down, I'm afraid people will think I'm weird. I actually look forward to that. I want people to think I'm weird. So that's okay.
A lot of people don't, though. A lot of people don't want to be perceived as weird.
Yeah.
Because that's a judgment, and it's not, and it's a negative.
It doesn't sound like a kind judgment.
It doesn't sound,
it's not a praise. It doesn't sound like a praise.
It sounds like there's something wrong with you.
So the example is, I'm afraid people will think I'm weird. And the truth is that this is what you would speak after saying your fear. I'm magical and I'm allowed to be seen. So for me, this reminds me that as we all have different aesthetics, how we dress, our makeups, our looks, our everything, we do not all have to live in the same box and be the same, because the world would be a very fucking boring place if we all acted and dressed and looked the same. All of the different colors of people, like the personas, just the lives that people lead, make the world so incredibly beautiful and deep, and gives
it's like a kaleidoscope.
It is.
It's like
There's
kaleidoscope.
A million little things. And like, to go into all the different worlds, if you're so lucky to venture into the worlds of people living lives vastly different than yours, you can learn so much. And it's just such an expansive thing. And then you can see, I think that when you learn other people's lives, you don't judge yourself as much, because you can see that there's so much variety that there isn't one way to do anything.
That's true.
It's like a million ways to do stuff.
That's really
there's
true.
less on you to be perfect, because there is no perfect. There is no standard. There is no one rule, one law everyone should follow. There's nothing like that. It's like, do what makes you feel magical and be you. So blow out the candle and then imagine the fear losing its power as the smoke is like lifting away, you know? And you can do this repeatedly. Whatever it is that you're really trying to get over. I think for mine was really self-love, because of all of the negativity that I got over my physical body. I loved my brain. I loved who this one is up here in all of this, but like who I had to wear walking out into the world, the skin suit really pissed me off.
Well, that's because everybody had an opinion about it.
Right. So I had to be okay with that. Like,
Yeah.
I had to eventually come to a place where I needed to love myself in the body that I'm in. And that was my fear, is like, I don't care what people say about me or think or anything. Like, I'm going to do what I want. And getting with my sister 14 years ago, like, you know, that was hard, because we were two totally different people. And she thought I was such a grandma. That's all she called me. And I was like, I don't care. This is what I'm comfortable in. And she did put me in some hoochie clothes, and we did go out and do, you know, I did it. I acted young with her, but mostly I dressed like a grandma, and I'm comfortable in my grandma era for like the last 100 years. I'm good with that. I don't care. I'm still good with it. I got a grandma sweater on tonight, and I love it. It's the cutest. So own what you like. Just call it into yourself. Let it be. And everybody else's negativity and all the fears, let it float away. Fuck them. That's a good way. That's a spiritual boundary, you guys. If you didn't know this, fuck 'em is a spiritual boundary. There you go. I think we could wrap this up. I think that's the best thing I said tonight.
I think that's a great
I need
ending.
to make that a post. Fuck 'em is a spiritual boundary.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're going to do something with that.
I think
We're
we
going
should
to trademark it.
I think so. Absolutely. So we just want to remind you that you're not here to be palatable. You're not here to please everyone. You're not here to be, you know, the main dish that everybody loves and can rave about. That is people pleasing. If you want everybody to like you, that's a people pleasing behavior. You need to be liked for who you are, what you're about, what you stand for, and then your real tribe will like you. You will find the people that you fit in with. You're here to be powerful as you, who you want to be, for the things you like and the life that you want, not to please everybody else.
Fear of judgment is just a dusty old spell someone else cast over you. Today, you can break it.
That's right.
Right now.
That's right.
So just as a little recap.
I know, because we went off a couple times.
Just to recap what we talked about. Fear is old programming. It's not prophecy.
Yeah.
It's not defining your future.
It does not define your future. You can shift fear thoughts into truth thoughts. You have to recognize the voice within. Who's talking? Whose voice is this? What are we actually saying?
Every time you choose yourself, your magic grows.
Yes. Choose yourself.
Choose yourself.
That should also be a post. Choose yourself. That's a boundary.
Grow your magic. Choose yourself.
Grow your magic. Choose yourself. Damn, that's a tagline, Mom.
There's two. We need to write those down as soon as we're done. We're
going to forget. Unapologetic expression is part of the witch's path. Being unapologetic for being yourself, okay?
Yeah.
It's not an optional upgrade. You need to be yourself to own who you really are, to have confidence in your magic, to do the things that you want to do. You have to believe in yourself. Belief is a major part of your energy. To know yourself, to believe in yourself, to have that. So unapologetic expression is where you want to get to.
If this episode stirred something in you, share it with a sister witch who's afraid to be seen. We rise louder together.
Absolutely.
Stay wild, witches. Stay wise and trust the witch within.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.